think silence is extremely important. I think it's one of the most important things. And I think that in our modern day and age, it's grown, I would say underrated, but I think underrated is even a too light of a way to put it. I think it's grown undervalued. I think we all need a lot more of it, and I don't think we have that anymore. You know, there's this great interview with David Foster Wallace where he's talking about these two sides of what he believes to be in all our brains, and I tend to agree. I haven't met somebody who does not feel these two emotions kind of pulling them. He's like, we got the side of ourselves that crave this loud noise, this hustle and bustle, and want to be entertained, we want to be stimulated. And then he was like, there's this other side that craves quiet solitude and sitting in a room and thinking for 30 minutes and just reading a book. And, you know, he says for this reason he views reading as sort of this almost, I mean, he doesn't say this word specifically, but he describes it as almost a spiritual activity because of the silence, the prolonged focus, the solitude that it requires. And I think that he was actually speaking about this in regards to TVs, right? He was talking about this in regards to like the fact that every America, and he was doing this in the 90s, is getting so focused on movies and TVs and you know, I don't think it's inaccurate to call us as a country kind of like culture junkies, right? And I wonder, David Foster Wallace unfortunately passed, I believe in 2008 or 2009. I wonder what he would say if he could look at like the modern ecosystem today of social media and just how little people are in silence. I think I've gone full weeks where the only time I actually hear silence and just am alone with my own thoughts is in the 30 minutes before I fall asleep at night. And I don't think that's healthy at all. David Foster Wallace was also one of these people who, I know he got rid of his TV in his house because he was like, this is too distracting, this is too, you know, it's too entertaining. There's too much value here. And I think like, that's just so crazy to me. Because nowadays, like, if you tell somebody, oh, you should watch TV, or like, I'm watching TV right now, that's almost seen as like a boring task. Like, that's seen as like, oh, that's, you know, whatever. Like, the whole joke is that, there's a, oh my God, some movie, they have this joke in there where it's like, they're like, this is a great movie for you to put on the TV while you scroll on your phone, and that's so true. I mean, I've watched so many movies with people where nobody else in the room is watching that movie. I find that Wallace's commentary here, this take of his, is almost like prophetic foresight. Like, this is insane that he was looking at this back then and being like, this is the direction we're going. I've never finished the novel Infinite Jest in full. I really want to. I hope to soon. But I do know that the novel has huge themes to that. This is obviously David Foster Wallace's biggest work. Has huge themes to this, of being like entertainment, what is sedating people, what is our culture becoming because of this. I will say, I think that if anybody is wondering, I think that the novel itself, from what I've read of it, is good, and I think David Foster Wallace's takes on all this are very good. I do think it lacks a little bit of material analysis. I think just as important of a question is not, you know, why are all these new technologies coming out that are so addictive and entertaining, but I think also, why do people have a deep need to be sedated and entertained? I think is a very valuable question too, that I don't think his work does the best job of answering. You know, I think the everyday lives of people have a lot more to do with this than we're willing to admit. Like, if you look ever at the kids of like rich families, they don't feel the need to be on their phone all day because they're in Italy. You know what I mean? Like, and that's obviously a hugely exaggerated example of this. That's kind of a caricature of it. But I think the truth is, when you are working all day and don't have, you feel like you're probably not going to see any sort of upward mobility. You're probably just going to like be stuck doing the grind all day, every day for years on end, and you just are so tired when you get home from work. I don't see why you wouldn't just sit and like scroll and kind of take your mind off everything for an hour, right? Or multiple hours until you go to bed. Like, I think that makes a ton of sense. When hanging out with people takes more effort and more money that, I mean, polls show most people don't have, I think it makes complete sense. I think that's an essential part of this conversation that I do think needs to be addressed at the very least, right? I think it'd be weird for me to come here and be like, we all need to be alone with our thoughts more, while not acknowledging the reason why a lot of people want to avoid these thoughts. I think also I should acknowledge that if I didn't have the hope and I think almost this series that I do here on YouTube exists as an outlet for me, yes, but I think it also exists as like a source of hope of like, there is something bigger I'm putting myself towards, no matter how alienated I will ever grow from my work that I do on a daily basis. I will not grow alienated from the work I do here, right? And that's also something that I'm fortunate to have. I mean, I'm fortunate, obviously you guys know this series runs on a tight budget, but I am at the end of the day still greatly fortunate to have the facilities to do this and to be able to do this every day, I think it's important to acknowledge these things. However, I also do think that there's a whole lot of people who, ignoring that whole material conversation, honestly, for the rest of this video, are genuinely just not used to that lifestyle, right? Because I think it's interesting, when you go in, let's say the 90s, I think probably more accurately the 80s, but let's say 90s just for argument's sake, you go from being like, everybody is lightly entertained, they probably have a few programs they watch on the TV, to like, you get 24-hour news, entertainment really kicks in. You're going from like, wait, I had 2 hours a day of silence, now I really don't. That's a noticeable difference, right? When you then go from, okay, I had 2 hours a day of silence to no silence, right? That's something. But then you go from no silence to like not just no silence, but like you're having images beamed into your head 24/7. Like, this is just me half joking, but I genuinely think this could happen. Like, in the future, there's probably just gonna be some sort of entertainment machine that you plug yourself into, and it just gives you like a hit of dopamine before you go to your third job of the day. I mean, there's an argument that's already what our phones are, right? So I do think that, once again, ignoring the conversation we were having before, there's an element of this that is just like, people they don't know anything else. You know what I mean? It's like they grew up in this world where everybody's watching stuff all the time, so of course they're also going to watch stuff all the time, right? I don't think people realize that there's an alternative. I know I didn't for years, you know what I mean? I had nothing I was running from in my life. It just was really great to go home and watch TikTok all day. And these things are addictive at the end of the day. These things, I am cautious to say they are coping mechanisms, but they can be coping mechanisms. And that's why I think being alone with your thoughts for at least an hour a day, right, is very important. I mean, this is why like the whole spiritual thing has really taken a hold, right? I feel like, isn't it a statistic that like Gen Z is more spiritual than ever? I think that's why this has taken a hold, because that's an excuse to really do some introspection, right? I don't think people are searching for God these days. Like the news, like loves to write a headline every 2 weeks, like Gen Z has renewed its quest for God. I think they're searching for themselves. They just see that as a vessel to get there, right? Because the idea of going on and being like, I'm going to go on a quest to find myself with no guidance is insane. Obviously, nobody can do that. That's not, like, you need guidance. You need something to guide you along the way. Everybody worships something, whether for me, it's art. I've found myself through art. I spend time silent doing art, and that's where I find myself. Some people it's church, some people it's meditation, right? But I think it's extremely important. I think it's one of the most important things, because also I think people don't know, I think we're losing our abilities to think. And I think in the age where AI is literally, I saw this study that came out from MIT where it's like, AI has made people that use ChatGPT 24/7, like for everything, are already losing cognitive function in some places. And I don't mean to be, I'm not trying to be elitist, I'm not trying to be like, I would never. That's just not good. That's not a good thing. That's not something to be looked at as like, this is progress. That's not progress. AI is supposed to be a tool in your tool belt, you are not a tool in it, right? I think I'm not somebody who is like, oh, never touch AI. Like, I'm not one of these people at all. I just don't think you should ever let this thing do critical thinking for you. If you want to use it of like, find me 10 websites of restaurants near me I want to eat tonight, great, go ahead. Like, I don't think that's bad. I mean, environmental effects, but like, they are burning the environment for this thing anyways, fine, whatever, go use it. using it in terms of like think through this issue for me, I do not think that's a good idea. And I think that being like the people, we went through this, we just talked about how we went from the 80s to the 90s, from like I have 2 hours of silence a day to I have no silence a day. That's jarring. And then people didn't really notice when you go from the 90s to the 2010s of like I have no silence a day to I have really loud noises all day being beamed into my head. I think the next stage of that is going to be I have no silence and I have no thoughts anymore. And I think we all need to run from that. Like, I think that if you deem yourself to be somebody that likes thinking about things, that likes being oh my God, so cringy to say this, but a critical thinker, you need to like desperately try and get away from that, because I think it's what's coming next. And unless you are willing to spend some time alone with yourself every day, I don't know if it's something that we can all avoid. Because when you have less time to think, you need to think faster. And you know what can think really fast? Typing and getting an answer back in 10 seconds. And I think we're all going to cave to that eventually if we're not willing to actually do the work in our own heads, because you do get better at thinking the more you do it. It's like anything else. I think this is deeply important, and that's why I think that in this next era, not only just for mental health reasons, but for self-preservation reasons, it's important that we all learn to spend an hour alone with our thoughts every day. This is the painting, new color palette, guys. I think this is interesting because there's no cool tones in this. I think that's the first color palette of this series that has 0 cool tones, even though I guess the gray has a hint of blue to it, but I don't think it reads as such. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, so the way I picked these, I think I've disclosed before, is I have a book of all these colors and I just shove a knife in it and pick whatever one it lands on to see if I can make any fun compositions with it. And I was kind of annoyed when it landed on this because I was like, black, gray, and red is like just 3 colors I've used before, right? Like, I mean, there's probably 20 paintings in Paint&Talk that are this exact color palette. But I was like, whatever, I'll do it because why not? And maybe it'll give me time to experiment with something that's a little bit more normal, I guess. Don't know if it's gonna do that, but it's cool, I guess, I don't know. Unfortunately, I have too much paint in this, so I think this might run actually longer than 3, but we'll see about that. That's a bridge for another day. What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this conversation, sitting alone with your thoughts and everything that goes along with it? I'd love to hear in the comments below. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Ice. This has been Paint and Talk episode 204. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.